Welcome back. So we're going to do a little crash course on ComfyUI. We're going to start off simple. We're going to work through each model. We're going to explain a few things. And we're going to have some fun making cool images. So this is going to assume that you already have it installed because there are like hundreds of tutorials on that already. You can use this if you're using it with Colab or another platform like RunPod or whatever it is you're using. I'm going to be using it locally. So I've just pretty much got a batch file. If we take a look in the my Comfy folder, my ComfyUI. So if I just come in here, I've got a startup batch file, PyTorch cross attention. Models, they go inside models, and then there will be various folders. These will automatically create themselves when you download custom nodes, but checkpoints go in checkpoints, and Loras go in Loras. Embeddings, so in texture inversions, go in there. And like I said, there's a Loras folder somewhere. I just can't seem to find it with my eyes right now. Loras. Okay, so then you put your Loras here. Something gets a bit tricky is sometimes they put them in different places. So that can be a bit annoying, but there's not much you can do about it. Oh, VAEs go in there. It's pretty self-explanatory. So take all the things that you had and you know, copy all your stuff across, and that's all you've really got to do to get access to your own stuff, that is. The only real thing you need, if you haven't even got any models, obviously, other than the base 1.5, 2.1, and SDXL, is the ComfyUI Manager. And you might think, well, how the hell do I install that? If you're using a Colab or a RunPod, it's probably already built in. If you're on local, it's actually a very simple process. So again, we're going to go to our folders. And if we go into our custom nodes, so ComfyUI custom nodes folder, if you just hit CMD, that'll open us up a new command prompt in the correct location. And then all we need is the URL. So we'll just copy that. Git clone. I've already got it, so I don't need to run it, but that's all you have to do. Press enter and it will clone. And that's, as you see here, here's the instructions. We've just done the exact same thing. So it's very simple and straightforward. You then stop with Control-C in the terminal and then start it again. Or you stop and start the process in Colab, whatever it is you're doing. But we're going to assume that you've already figured all that out and you're looking at this, going, where do I go from here? We'll start off with a base model. We're going to be using Lyrial V15, which is a nice 1.5 model you can find on Civit AI. It's using the VAE that's baked into the checkpoint, so we don't have to worry about a VAE loader. We've got our positive prompt here and a negative prompt, and then we've got our 512 by 512 because it is a 1.5 as a 512 base. The clip feeds into the text encodes, and then the model goes forward to the K sampler. All right. And then we get conditioning, which is clip conditioning of this text as a positive and negative. And then we have the empty latent coming in at the bottom for there. We choose our seed, it's on randomize. So every time we run a batch, it will change the seed. Steps are on 20, CFG is on 8, sampler name is EULA, scheduler normal, denoise 1. Now this is pretty simple and straightforward. This is your default workflow. One of the greatest things about this is when you click save, it'll give you a JSON. So you can actually share your workflows. And there are websites like openart.ai, which are dedicated to just sharing workflows. So you can go and download people's workflows and then come in. Now, when you have the manager, if there's a red node, it means you're missing something. So you can open up the manager, which is why we install this. And then you can click install missing custom nodes. There's also install custom nodes, and you can see all of them here and you can search them and everything, and they're all, it's very, very cool. So anyway, let's get back to basics. So first thing you'll notice is we've got a VAE decoder, which is actually turning the latent into an image and then saving it. So for example, if you wanted to change the file name, you can do that there. All right. Now, anything here, if I right click the K sampler, you can see that we can turn things into an input. So for example, I might want to turn the denoise and then have it increment the denoise every step, make 100 images from 0 to 1 to see the effect of denoise. Or I might want to do the same thing with CFG and so on. So there's a way that you can automate things. It's very simple. You just right click, add node, and you just go all the way to the top. You probably won't have this many, and just get a primitive. Primitive can hook into pretty much anything, almost anything. It won't let you connect if it's not allowed. So for example, if we wanted to find out what the best steps and CFG was, I might get a primitive, alt click and drag to get another one, and then we're going to right click, convert steps to input, convert CFG to input, and then we're going to hook in steps, and we're going to hook in CFG. And then what that is giving us, look, is it's giving us this fixed 28. So it's got it remembered the values that were there already. But what we can do with this is we could say, put it randomize. You wouldn't want to do that. We could put it on increment, and we could start at 10 and do, so I could start, for example, at 10. Okay, we'll leave this one fixed for now. And then I can go to extra options. I can pick 10, so it's going to end at 20, right? And then what I could do is I could run that, and then we could go, well, what's it like at 7? And then I'd have to put that back to 10 again. So then it's going to do another. And so now what it's doing is it's making a batch of images from 10 steps to 20 steps at CFG 8. And then it'll do another batch of images from 10 steps to 20 steps at CFG 7. And it's all automated, so I don't have to fiddle about. It's a bit like the old grids, but you can be a bit more clever with it. Because obviously this is very simple. I've just put 2 things in. So anyway, we're going to get rid of these now because I've shown you that. So we're back where we started. And we're doing 20 steps with a CFG of 7. Produces a pretty nice image. So first question people ask is, how do I get Loras to work? Okay, so the first thing is, that's super easy. We just go drag out some space. And what we're going to do is we're going to double click and just type Lora. And that'll give you the standard Lora loader. All right. So we double clicked and just typed Lora. Got our Lora loader. And then we've hooked up the clip to clip, model to model. And then the clip's gone into our encoders for the positive and negative. And the model has gone into our K-sampler. So that's all we had to do there. And then if we have advanced enhancer for 1.5, that should give us a decent, let's just fix the seed and see what, oh crap, I made 10 of them. View queue, clear queue. It won't let you because they were all the same seed, so that's good. So there we go, the advanced enhancer. So we turn it on, and then I think we can turn it off with Control B, which is a bypass shortcut. So with any luck, now we can see, I'm still doing 10 because I'm a nipple. There we go. Right. So yeah, make sure to turn the batch off. So we do an image without enhancer, and then we do an image with enhancer. It is different. It is different, but it's really subtle. Yeah, it's really subtle. So yeah, it is doing what it's supposed to do. It's like a refiner, as far as I know. Right. It's probably a trigger word I'm not using as well, so that's not good. This is just a default prompt that we're working with here. Okay, so that's the first thing, is loading in Loras. I mean, if I load in one of mine, which is a bit stronger, I think I've got a Zenkai V15 Beta 2. So if I just load in one of my models, it should make a big difference for better or worse. Yeah, there you go. See, it's a massive multi-style model, so it's given us some crazy image. All right, cool. So that's working, right? And at this point, you might be thinking, well, what about clip skip? Because a lot of my Loras use clip skip, and that's a good question. So easy peasy. We drag off clip from the load Lora because we want it to happen after the Lora's loaded, right? So, and then we just go search, and it's clip set last layer. It will automatically filter the stuff that you're dragging off of. So if you're not sure, sometimes that can help you find it. So we'll say clip set last layer, and then we just have to reconnect these. Super simple. And we've got clip skip 1 there. I mean, if I wanted to put clip skip 2 on and just make the image again, yeah, there you go. It's going to make something different. All right. So at this point, I may as well explain. If you wanted to load a 2.1 model, you can do that. So if I just load one of my 2.1 models and just change this to a 2.1 Lora, now it's running in 2.1, but I didn't change the resolution. 2.1 is a 768 model, but you can run inference at 1024. So if we just make one image at 768 and another one at 1024, I will show you. So this is the base resolution, but when I trained the model, I trained it on 1024. So you can still build images. This is quite an abstract art model, so this is mashing a whole bunch of styles together. At this point, what you probably want to do is start adding things like control nets and stuff like that. Control and drag, control left click, and then shift and click. That's how we actually do that. So if I now come in here and just double click and I just say control net, I want the advanced, or I want to get a custom node that's going to let me do a stack. But just to keep it simple, we'll add in control net. We're going to take the positive and we're going to put it into the sampler. All right. Now we want to load a control net. So we drag off control net and say control net loader. And then, right, I'm going to be using, because it's version 2.1, I want to use v21 depth control v11. All right. And then we've got an image input, which is going to be the depth map. Now we want to estimate the depth map from an image. So what we'll do is we'll drag off and we'll get a load image first. So there's Chuck Norris. And then what we'll do is we will drag off here, click search, and then say depth. Now you can use any depth and it will download the model for you. I currently use Marigold depth, which is a custom add-on. And it just gives you a little bit more control over the depth map. That's all. I like it. It's nice. Okay, now we've got everything we need to run Chuck into ControlNet with the prompt of a beautiful scenery nature glass bottle landscape purple glass bottle. So obviously it's going to be a bit weird, but it should come up with something in the shape of a man, usually. If you ever want to know what it looks like, you can just drag off and say preview image, and it'll show us what it's actually putting into the depth map. And then I believe we can mess around with the strength. We can mess around. This is a very basic setup though, so I'd probably get the advanced K sampler next and then do some more stuff. But I want to just keep it simple to show you that you can just put something together very quickly, make changes. So you can see our man Chuck's in there somewhere. Now you might want to add in here more control nets like sketch or open pose, and you can certainly do that. So, I mean, if we were to add in, let's see, in fact, I think we'll just move on to XL just to make the point, because this system allows us to do this. So if I was just to go, okay, well, I'm just going to use SDXL base now, and I'm just going to use an XL model of some kind. In fact, let's just bypass the Lora for now. Same prompts. We don't need that, so I am Control B to turn things off, right? Because it's not going to load anyway. Okay, there it is. So now we're in SDXL mode, but you'll notice it's gone back because it's none of my crazy styles actually being loaded at this point. Now I do have a beta of that model, so if I just turn it back on, so Control B to bring it back on, and then we'll say Zenkai, and look for Zenkai XL.2, which is currently on Civet. It's only got 15 styles, so it's nothing compared to the old model, but it should still do something. So yeah, we'll run that prompt again, same seed, this time with the Lora. It might do nothing because there's only 15 styles. Oh no, it's done something. Okay, pretty cool. Yeah, it's still working like it should. It's just not quite as strong and varied as it used to be. But there you go. So, and then, like I said, we'll turn our man Chuck back on. Now, this is something this is important. So when you're using depth with XL, we're using Stability's ControlNet and Lora's. They seem to be the best ones at the moment. So just make sure that you're matching. If you're using 1.5, you've got to use 1.5 ControlNets and Loras. 2.1, you've got to use 2.1 ControlNets and Loras. With XL, you've got to match it. So XL with XL Lora and XL ControlNets. Okay. So now we'll just turn this on, and then what we'll do is we'll get ourselves a nice depth of Chuck. It's not the fastest depth estimation, but it's kind of failed there. Usually it's the best one. That was bad. Still making some interesting images though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now change this. So if we get rid of the depth estimation, all right, and then we change this to a sketch, for example, and then I will do a desaturate. So I'm just going to desaturate the image, put that into my ControlNet sketch. Okay. We'll also show that it's just making it black and white there. Yeah, it's just on one. Okay, so what the hell? All right, that's interesting. What are you doing? So I did do the exact same thing, but I guess I'm not really describing things very well, which is fine. It's trying to make purple glass. Doing something. It's making like alien landscape, which is one of the styles, and then it's putting them in a glass bottle. But anyway, like I say, this is a very quick overview. So double click and you can search for things. Manager and you can install more things. You might be thinking to yourself, well, okay, so we know where we put control nets and stuff, but what about upscaling? You can drag off, search, and just type upscale. A lot of these come from custom nodes, but if I select this one, that one's default. Then we can do upscale model loader. I could use something like Remicry, Ultra Sharp, any of these, or another popular upscaler. And then we can get ourselves a little preview here. You got to remember, you've always got to save the image if you want to save the image. If you want to preview, go to preview, But I tend to do both and then get rid of my previews and stuff later. There's a purpose to it. Like if you're doing an API call, you don't want to save everything, but that's not what we're doing today. Okay, so let's change the input image, and using the sketch, we're going to chuck that through and see what we get. And then it's going to give us an upscale this time. So we got our black and white. It's like a cartoon girl on the beach. It's tried to turn her into like Glass Galaxy stuff. And then we should get our upscale. So there we go. It's not too bad, not too bad. I'd probably want to like clean it up a bit, because if you zoom in on it, it gets a bit sketchy. So let's just go back to the default, remind us where we started. All you got to remember is you're loading your checkpoint and you have an empty latent space image dimensions. And then you have your positive and negative. You go into your K-sampler. We decode that latent into an image and save it. That's it. And 9 times out of 10, all you have to do is just change. That's it. Change the model. It'll run 1.5, 2.1, XL, and soon Cascade. So, and as I said, you can go to sites like, I won't go there now because I need to pre-screen it. Some of the thumbnails are a bit spicy, but yeah, I'd recommend openart.ai and obviously Civet AI. It's just that OpenArt they're dedicated to just workflows for Comfy. So it's a place where a lot of people will put things up. And just as to give you an example, if I was to drop in a if I was to drop in a workflow which I haven't used, so here's one I got earlier. If I just drop this in like that, you can see here it's giving a load of errors. All right, you haven't got this, you haven't got this, you haven't got this. Okay, and then when I zoom out, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff missing. If I go to the manager, go to missing nodes, it's going to fetch the database, and in a minute we'll see. Okay, so there it is. It looked a lot more, it looked like I was missing more than, it's just 2 nodes. So for this, we would just click install. We'll watch on the output and see that it's downloading them. Once it's finished that one, I'll do the other one. If you want to be really careful, restart after each one, but you should be safe to just install the ones that are missing and then restart. Okay, and then we'll do the other one. Okay, and while it's downloading, just to explain, you just hit Control-C in the terminal, hit Y, and then start it again. Once it's started, refresh this, and then the nodes will be working for you. We'll take a look at this actual workflow in a separate video, but for now, that is basically the video on how to get every model running out the box. You don't need extensions for that. And also how to get Manager running so that you're able to just drop in workflows, and in the future you can follow along because I'll include the download link in the video. And that's pretty much all I've got for you. So that's part 1 of my crash course on Comfy.